G'day athletes, welcome to the Kilted Athlete Podcast. My name is Keith and I'm your host. Tomorrow morning is Saturday as I record this podcast, and every Saturday morning in 249 locations around Australia and about 2,500 locations across the world in 20 different countries, parkrun happens. And tomorrow morning I'll be at parkrun. I won't be running actually at this parkrun, at this particular event. I'll be volunteering at Warhope Parkrun. And I've mentioned parkrun quite a bit in various episodes that I've done, but I've never really talked about what parkrun is and how it's such a great community event. So here it is. Here's an episode all about parkrun. Now before we start, I just want to let you guys know I'm testing out some new tech in this episode. I've got one of those those clip-on microphones with the fuzzy end things that you see YouTubers stick on their chest, or they might be holding in front of their face. Well, I've got one of those, but it won't connect to my phone because I've got the incorrect connection. I've got an old iPhone which has a lightning port, and this microphone needs the USB-C thing, so I don't have the correct connection. So I'm actually plugging this into a laptop, which it seems to be working okay, but it kind of like limits me to sitting in front of the computer. And if you've listened to my podcast before, you know I kind of walk around a lot when I'm recording a podcast, so it's kind of like it feels not very natural to me, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let me know how the new microphone works, whether it's sounding well, whether it sounds bad. Maybe there's a few things I need to tweak. Maybe I need to get some new software or something. I have noticed the program that I'm actually using doesn't allow me to go back and record over, which I could do with my iPhone. So that's may not be a good thing. If I make a mistake, if I make a serious balls up, I can't kind of like go and record over it. It just I would have to start a whole new track and maybe splice them together. So let's see if I can get through this episode without making any mistakes. Well, no mistakes too bad anyway. You've probably, if you've been listening to my episodes for a while, you've probably noticed I don't kind of go over, like, I don't record over little mistakes, but if I make a complete balls up, I will. But let's see how I go. Another reason for the new tech is that my wife Jo and I have actually we're starting to create a YouTube channel with our travel exploits. So we've got these new microphones, and we're going to be putting our photos that we've taken together and kind of narrating them and talking through like some of the travel we've been doing. So I guess this is a bit of a road test for that as well. So anyway, I'm wearing this very microphone on my chest here. But as I said, it's really kind of like, it's difficult for me to just sit in front of this computer and talk. I'm normally like walking around and talking. It's kind of like a new, not new, but it's kind of like goes against my natural instinct to walk around while I'm recording a podcast. But anyway, enough of that. let's crack on with this episode, which is all about parkrun, what parkrun is, and look how you can get involved in parkrun. So parkrun is a free community event that's held every Saturday morning. As I said, in 20 different countries around the world, there's about 2,500 parkrun events all over the world, and I believe from the last count 204 correction, 549 in Australia. And if I was using my iPhone, I just would have reversed over that mistake I made, but I can't do that with this program. I probably could, but if I wanted to do so, a lot of post editing stuff. But yeah, anyway, 549 parkruns around Australia, and some of them start like 7 a.m. Some start at 8 a.m. I know some. I did one in Hobart about a year ago, and it started quite late. I think it might have been 9 a.m. Just because of this short day, I guess, in winter time there. But anyway, these all happen on a Saturday morning, and there are 5 kilometre running, walking, jogging event, and they're completely free to enter, to go in. So the way it works is you sign up for parkrun, so parkrun.com or parkrun.com.au. You register, and then you get a barcode. You get an athlete number and a barcode, and that's unique to you. And then you show up to any of these parkruns around the country, around the world, and you do your 5 kilometre run, walk, jog, whatever you like to do. And once you've finished, you get a finish token, and you go to a scanner, a person, a volunteer that scans your barcode. You hand them the finish token, which they scan, and they scan your own barcode, and you get your results emailed to you. So the cool thing about this is you can turn up at any of these 2,500 locations around the world, and all you need is your barcode. And you turn up, you do the run, you scan your barcode at the end, and get your results. It's completely free. It doesn't cost anything. You don't need to book in or anything. Once you've registered for parkrun and got your barcode, you don't need to register for individual events. You just show up and run or walk or jog. People push prams. In some, not all parkruns, depending on where they are, but some parkruns allow dogs, and you can take your dog for a jog. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And there's one other thing apart from running, walking, jogging, that you can do, and that's volunteer, because parkruns are completely free, but they're run by volunteers. So all the people that turn up on Saturday morning, set up the course, do the timing, do marshal, showing people where to go, scan barcodes. They're all done by volunteers. So people that attend parkruns regularly are encouraged to volunteer from time to time. So it's a community event. It's run by people in the community, but they kind of need people to step up and volunteer every now and then as well. So if you're doing parkruns regularly, you should be volunteering from time to time as well. So parkrun started in London in 2004 in Bushy Park. That was the very first parkrun back in 2004. and it started with a gathering of 13 runners. 13 runners, 5 volunteers, gathering together in Bushy Park in London to do their very first park run. And it's like really like in the 20, 22 years since then, has really blown out from 13 runners to like thousands of people running every Saturday morning across the world. Over the next few years, parkrun expanded to other locations across the UK, but the first international parkrun, so the first one outside of the UK, was actually in Zimbabwe in 2008, and then another one in Denmark in 2009. So that's kind of 2008 is when parkrun started to become an international thing. In 2011, the first parkrun in Australia started on the Gold Coast, and now there's like over 10 million registered parkrun athletes around the world. So, like I said, parkrun relies heavily on volunteers, and you know every parkrun around the world needs like volunteers to facilitate this event happening every weekend. And that's actually what I'm doing this Saturday, like tomorrow. I'll be at Warhope Parkrun, but I won't be running this time. I'll be volunteering. I'll be at a Marshall station volunteering with my nephew Harry. Actually, he'll be volunteering with me. We might even get like a little speaker with some music going, just to like, you know, encourage the people as they're running past. Get some tunes happening. So there we go. There's that's basically parkrun in a nutshell. But I want to tell you about how I actually became involved in parkrun. So I think and look, I'm very vague on the dates here, but I think I first heard about parkrun back in about 2014. At the time, I was living in Port Macquarie, and someone told me about parkrun, told me all about what this thing is, this 5 kilometre run, that free event that you turn up to, have a barcode, scan, get your results on the end, and I was quite intrigued by it. But at the time, I was living in Port Macquarie, which for those of you not sort of kind of that are unaware kind of about the geography of Australia, I know there's a lot of people from outside of Australia listening to this podcast, so very big welcome to everyone from other countries. But Port Macquarie is on the east coast of New South Wales. If you go about 500 kilometres north of Sydney, which puts us about halfway between Sydney and Brisbane. So at the time, back in 2014, the closest parkrun to Port Macquarie was in Newcastle, which was about 250 kilometres to the south. And there were no parkruns between Newcastle and the Queensland border. So I went down and I checked out this parkrun at Newcastle one morning, and it was such an amazing event. There were, a few hundred people all running together, and then afterwards, like, you meet people. It's very sociable. They have each parkrun has a designated cafe that they go to and have coffee after. It's such a great community event. But as I said, there was no parkruns between Newcastle and the Queensland border. So Newcastle was actually the closest at the time. And I kind of started to think that there needs to be a parkrun in Port Macquarie. There needs to be, I mean, this would be a great thing for Port Macquarie. So I started looking into it, and I met up with a few other like-minded people that were also keen on getting a parkrun started in Port Macquarie. Kevin Chilvers, who I've talked to on this podcast before. I've interviewed Kevin on this podcast. He was another big driving force behind Port Macquarie Parkrun, and then later he went on to become like the area manager of the parkruns on the north coast, and a few other people that were really passionate about getting parkrun started in Port Macquarie. My wife, who actually wasn't my wife at the time, we weren't married back then, but she became a big part in making this happen as well. So we kind of had a little core of passionate. We called it the events team to get this thing going, and it took quite a while. We had to find a suitable course. There's various kind of regulations when you're setting up a park run. You can't cross any roads. There's various other things that you have to factor in. But eventually we got approval. We got it all happening, and then on the 31st of October 2015, we launched Port Macquarie Parkrun. Now, I said at the time that we started planning parkrun in Port Macquarie, there wasn't any between Newcastle and the Queensland border, but a couple had started in that time while we were still in the planning phase. So Taree Parkrun had started up. Armidale Parkrun started. I went to the launch of the Armidale Parkrun. I believe it might have been in winter or like a quite cold part of the year, because I do remember it being quite chilly there. Yeah, but it was kind of interesting to see in those 18 months that we were in the planning and preparation phase to get Port Macquarie Parkrun going, or these other little parkruns were kind of popping up over the area. So by the time we launched, or around the time that we launched, within 6 months before and 6 months after, there were more parkruns popping up around the area. So we had there was Coffs Harbour, there was Urunga, Ballina, Grafton, Warhope. Yeah, so there's pretty much parkruns all up the coast now. And these things, the great thing about the parkrun is they're for everyone. Whether you just want to walk, that's fine. If you want to come walk with the kids, it's fine. You want to push a pram. As I said, some parkruns are dog friendly, so you can bring a dog along to some of them. And look, there's lots of different parkruns around the place. Whenever you go travelling, it's good to go and see your the nearest parkrun and have a go at it, just to see a different course. So if you're going away for a weekend, you can kind of check out where the nearest parkrun is and jump in on it, and see some different scenery, meet some new people. I'm just looking at my parkrun stats now. I've run at 23 different parkruns, so 23 different locations. I've done 173 parkruns that I've run in. I've volunteered at 76 parkruns. So yeah, you've got all your stats recorded, how many times you've run, how many different locations you've run at. All your PBs and everything are recorded, so you can check them out. Like from years ago, all your statistics are there. And as I said, this is all completely free. Like I said though, make sure you volunteer from time to time. Don't be that person that just runs all the time but never volunteers. These things are operated by volunteers. They need volunteers to make it happen. Anyway, that's it from me. I just wanted to give a bit of a talk about what parkrun was all about, because look, it's a great community event, and it just happens all over the place, and you may not be aware. So just look up where your nearest parkrun is. I'm going to finish off with a bit of a story, actually. You meet a lot of people in parkruns, but many years ago, like 10 years ago or so, I was working in an appliance store. I won't mention the company, but it was a electrical appliance store, and a gentleman came into me, and he was looking at fitness tracker watches, and I started talking to him, and he just jokingly said to me, so if I get one of these things, will it make me fit? And I said to him, no, but you know what? If you go to parkrun, that'll help get you fit. 10 years later, about 2 weeks ago, I met this gentleman, Jerry. I'll have to get him on the podcast one day. But he's been doing parkrun for 10 years. It's like he came along and just kept coming. And it was just so great to see him doing this. Like 10 years later, he's been continuing to come to parkrun for 10 years after that little conversation that we had, back when he was looking at fitness watches. So just little people that you meet at parkruns, like it's a great social atmosphere as well. Yeah, so there you go. If you're free on a Saturday morning, if you're looking for something to do, check out your parkrun. Check out where your nearest parkrun is. Give it a go. Have a crack. You'll meet some great people. Have some fun. We even had cake at parkrun last Saturday morning. It was Warhope Parkrun's 10th anniversary, so big shout out to Warhope Parkrun. But yeah, we finished the run and there was a cake there. So yeah, give parkrun a crack. Look up on the internet, look up parkrun, register, get your barcode, turn up at your nearest parkrun, and just have a go. So there we go. That's the episode for today. Just a little short one today. Hey, a huge thank you for listening for listening, guys. A huge thank you for listening. It really is appreciated. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, so to think that you guys are actually choosing my podcast to listen to, it really is appreciated. Once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, let me know how the new microphone went too. Yeah, just let me know in the comments. Better than the old headset I used to wear, or should I go back to the old headset? Yeah, let me know, guys. Thanks again, and I will talk to you next time.